let's just say I shop at David Jones all the time on their online store.
Yep.
They've got your pay now options as well as a simple pay later option. And that's what Campaign Agent does on a custom branded agency platform. Gives your vendors a number of options, whether they can afford to pay for their marketing, staging or home improvements upfront to your agency, or they want to have some flexibility up to 6 months to pay that back.
Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to The Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and it gives me great pleasure to be joined by only one of the Property Pod team members. What's happening, Patrick Berry?
Not much, mate, but I love with your intro you say weekly. I think we have to put a disclaimer. It's pretty loose these days.
It has been loose lately. I will say that it's been a very busy start to the year. Having a baby, having kind of the fun of COVID and all those things have definitely thrown a spanner into the works of it being a weekly podcast.
Yeah.
But we are working on it and we're trying our best from here on out. Let's see how many weeks we can get in a row. But thank you for all the people that have stuck with us through the ups and downs of the bi-weekly podcast.
Well, it's almost good though, because now it's almost like a little Easter egg surprise. Am I going to get a new episode today or not?
Look, two people have texted me and asked, like, is the podcast still a thing? Just because we've been away for like 2 weeks. And I was just like, no, we're still good. Don't worry. You'll still get your update on the Hobart Marketplace. So, look, we're missing John this week. I'll just pan to the empty chair. Oh, look, there's not even a camera for him. So sorry about that, everyone. I didn't plug in his camera. John's away in the Philippines. He just kind of randomly ended up in the Philippines?
Yeah, traditional John style, just sort of kept it to himself, thought he had told everyone that he was going, and it wasn't until like a day before he's like, I
better put in a leave request. Yeah.
So anyone that knows John knows that, he's a bit of a free spirit and we'll just...
He's notorious for his organisational skills are something to leave...
a little bit more skill required in that training area.
Indeed. We'll get him there one day. But speaking of skilled operators, today we have a guest on the podcast. We'll get you a little inside baseball. We are actually recording this for the third time. The last time I tried to do the intro, it didn't work for me. So look, we're back here. One little Easter egg for today's episode is if you see a little badge on my chest, it was my birthday the day of recording. So wish me a happy birthday.
And anyone that knows Aaron knows that was a little bit of time ago now. So that's how well we're going at the moment.
Very true. It just means it's a busy market, mate. We're just flat chat.
Yep.
So, today we have Josh from Campaign Agent on talking with us. Josh came in and had a really, really good chat with us in regards to their product. They're kind of a pay now or pay later real estate company service.
Yeah, and look, I think it's a really clever product for the marketplace with where we're shifting as we move forward. Like, it's been such a busy market, and as it starts to plateau out and become that even sort of market, and the days on market get a little bit longer.
Yep.
I think some of Josh's products are going to be really helpful for a lot of people buying homes as well as vendors selling homes. They've got a selection of different products. And we're really excited here at 414 to have their team joining us and offering these services to our clients.
Yeah, he came in and did a bit of training with a bunch of the staff here, and it was really engaging and really interesting. And as you say, it's good for vendors, sellers, and it's really good for real estate agents. So any agents as well out there listening, this is a really great service. So Campaign Agent, we might cut away here to Josh and enjoy the listen.
See you on the flip side.
We'll see you in a week, hopefully.
See you guys.
That's right, guys. We're here with our guest today on the Property Pod. We've got Josh Simmons from Campaign Agent. Welcome to the Property Pod, Josh.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Not a problem, my friend. Thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with us. Just for all our listeners out there, is it possible to give a little background on who you are and what you're doing here in our studio?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about me. I've worked in the property industry since 2013. I've worked my way up through property management, sales, and now I work for a company called Campaign Agent, working with some of the top agencies across Australia, around 1,400 agencies, including 414 Property Co.
Yeah, we are super excited to be joining you guys because your products are going to help our vendors out dramatically.
Absolutely. I think it's we've got some awesome products actually, not only to help vendors, but also to help real estate agencies maximize efficiency with our products as well.
Yeah, looking into some of your stuff here that you've been going over, and you've just done a quick training session with a bunch of our team here. I was just kind of like taking notes, fervently, just being to say, oh my God, Oh my God, I didn't know about that one. Oh, we should talk about that one on the podcast. So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to cover. We'll try and, jump into as much of it as we can.
Super.
But, I guess primarily, Pat, do you want to kind of give a rundown of how it's beneficial for kind of not just vendors, but for the agency as well?
Yeah, so I think what excites me the most about you guys is probably your vendor pay now, pay later option for advertising and I guess just funds needed when you sell a home. So for people that may not realise, when you go to sell a home, fees are broken down, I guess, into two components. You've got the commission aspect, which is when we get paid for selling your home, but then there's always an advertising aspect as well, and that's the money that us in an agency will invest to promote your property for sale. And now this is always a fee that has to be paid in some format. And for some vendors, it can be a little bit hard to come up with the funds up front to be able to, I guess, get a property ready for market. And this can be more than, I guess, just advertising the property on realestate.com. It can go into actually preparing the property for sale as well. And that's where you guys can help out, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the really nice thing about Campaign Agent's flagship VPA product is being able to, I guess, replicate an online store. Let's just say I shop at David Jones all the time on their online store.
Yep.
They've got your pay now options as well as a simple pay later option. And that's what Campaign Agent does on a custom branded agency platform. Gives your vendors a number of options, whether they can afford to pay for their marketing, staging or home improvements upfront to your agency, or they want to have some flexibility up to 6 months to pay that back.
And that's probably the feature I like the most because at the moment, we do that to a degree for some of our clients. However, it is getting more and more difficult to be able to help clients fund their sales. And this option here from you guys just really streamlines it and makes it a lot easier for people. But for us, we can only really help you out for realestate.com, for instance, or your photography type fees.
Yeah.
Where the ability for us to go in and talk to a vendor and say, look, we can get you more money for the home if you could do these small renovations, or if we can get a garden makeover done just to make the street appeal more presented. Some people don't have access to $3,000 or $4,000 to potentially do that, but that could net you so much more money in the sale aspect. And that's where I think you guys being able to step in and help fund those additional little things to be able to get the property looking its best, I think is where it could be really beneficial.
Absolutely. There's so many agents that come back to me having signed up to use Campaign Agent and have done a few listings, and they will use our staging and home improvement services, and they do sell a lot faster, particularly because the market is fairly hot at the moment. If you can have some leverage in terms of how the property presents, particularly online, and then when you're doing your opens or private for inspections. You're going to have the edge. If there's two properties and a potential buyer is comparing.
Yeah, looking into it from my side of the fence, so I do a bunch of the marketing and the photography and organise the team there. Knowing even just from our side of it, of getting to a place and knowing that the agent, I don't know, some agents have the ability just to be able to talk the vendor into being like, look, we just need to do these few little fix-ups and it'll just blow everything out of the water. Knowing that there's a little kind of safety net of being like, hey, like you might not be able to afford these right now, but we can kind of get you set up to fix up the garden, do those minor renovations, or get like just a little 1%, as John, who's normally on the show, would say, remove the buts.
Yep. So what he means by that, Josh, is I would buy the home, but I don't like this feature, or I would buy this, but I'd need to redo the kitchen. And in John's mind, every time a purchaser says the but, it's referring to taking money off the sale price. So when we're trying to get a home ready, we're trying to remove as many of the buts as we can. So being able to go to a client and offer a solution to be able to fund some money to help get these items done, I think is a massive advantage. Now, obviously we know that you just can't fund infinite money. What is the breakdown of what people could potentially borrow in these sort of buy now short-term type loan arrangement?
Yeah, so great question. So we fund $25,000 regardless of the estimated sale price for any property.
Sure.
For those larger properties, we fund up to 2%. So if my maths is right, on a $2 $2 million property, we would fund or be able to fund up to $40,000.
Yeah, sure.
Which is great. A vendor pays a flat 5.9% fee with no credit checks, no interest, and no late fees, which I think is really, really nice. And I think that's what helps separate our product from others on the market, because your vendors aren't, you're not recommending for a vendor to enter into a high interest loan. It's a flat fee.
Talk about the 5.9% fee. That's only on the pay later product, isn't it? So,
That's correct, yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were just going through the finance or through the training with you earlier today, we send the vendor a link and they can open it up. And you described it like an online store checking out. And the one feature I really loved out of all of it was when they arrive in this online store, it has their address at the top of the page. It has how much we've agreed. So it might be $2,000, it might be $5,000, whatever it may be, as the total amount being borrowed or paid for. And then it gives them the option, pay on credit card, it'll be $5,000 plus the service fee. Pay direct debit, it's just $5,000. And it actually lays it out with all the different payment options, what the total fee would be. So it's very clear and not confusing for anyone to know.
Yeah, the transparency and the flexibility of it was something that I kind of looked at, and I was just like, oh man, this is like the thing. The David Jones, you put all your stuff into your cart and you're just like wishing, just like, oh man, I wish I could buy all this stuff. Yeah, you can if you do the pay now, but yeah, pay later is also the option where, tiny little fee on it. But someone else used the example of insurance if you want to pay your yearly insurance up front, it's a bit cheaper than your little effect afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I also was looking at it as well. I think whenever I book flights on Virgin and those damn service charges, they're massive, but it's not that clear. It's in the small print where the way yours works with the checkout button, it literally shows it as the amount that they agreed to spend on advertising, and then that's the fee involved as well is tacked right in there. So it's very obvious, and I think that's really good. And I love the fact that, even by using the platform, if someone decides to pay the money directly via cash or EFT or BPay, there's no additional cost for that. So it gives the vendor still the option that, if you want to pay up front and you've got the cash in the bank, great. If you want to use credit card because maybe you've got your Virgin frequent flyer points, if you use a certain credit card, then awesome. You can run it through credit card. And if you're like me, I'm a point collector. So
you would use the Amex option?
I would definitely use the Amex option because even though there would be a larger service charge, me and my wife, Abby, we always pay the service charge because we're after the points. So I know there's people out there that like me that like that option. And then obviously there's the other option as well of the people that can't afford it up front but are happy for it to come out of the sale proceeds at the end of the sale. So that pay later 6-month option, I think is another fantastic opportunity there. So the flexibility and the different ways that you can pay, I think, are really clever with the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very transparent, like you said. All the additional costs, not additional costs, but
the service fees.
The service fees are laid out. Flat 5.9%, and that is calculated on the pay later total. And then once your vendor makes payment, they're sent through that automated invoice, and the money comes into your account. With the property address, so you can easily reconcile it.
Fantastic. Now, for the person that chooses the pay later option, what's involved? When you go and do a short-term loan, you got to go to the bank and you got to provide them all this documentation, and then they make an assessment to decide whether or not they're going to lend you that money. It can take up to 24, 48 hours to get the response from the bank. What if I was to choose the pay later option? What's involved for you guys to check that I can have the money, I guess?
Yeah, great question.
You're killing it today, Pat. Woo, you're on fire.
On fire.
Maybe we should record in the afternoon all the time.
I'm awake by then. I've had a couple of coffees.
That could be it. Sorry.
With our pay later services, because we are integrated with all CRMs, all major CRMs, we've already got the vendor's name, their email address, phone number. All the vendor needs to do is pop in their date of birth and answer a couple of questions, whether they're a power of attorney, and confirm that their intentions are to repay campaign agent either at the 6-month point or at settlement, whichever is sooner. And assuming that we can identify who the vendor is based on the information that we have, which we do in the background of this application process, then we can approve them. So it's really, really quick and easy.
Yeah, sure.
Really, really quick and easy.
Fantastic.
Speaking of quick and easy, this is the other side of the things that I was just looking at on your website was kind of the accessing the equity in your home. So say you're trying to purchase another place and you're not sure. There seemed to be a calculator here that was kind of helping work out what you can borrow. Is that something we could delve into?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Deposit now. And
Yes, Deposit Now Plus.
Yeah, Deposit Now Plus.
You're just trying to get back in the good books.
Yeah. Well, you keep getting good questions. I want to get a good question in there.
So Deposit Now and Deposit Now Plus, they're, I guess fundamentally, the same product. So let's just say Patrick's vendor has just sold their property.
Yep.
And the vendor needs some capital to purchase their next property. So
that's like in the way of a deposit for buying the next home.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic because I do a lot of contracts where unfortunately vendors can put like $1,000 down or no deposit. And it's not because they don't want to, but it's because their money's all locked up in the other home. So having that flexibility to be able to potentially borrow a deposit, I think is fantastic because for a lot of people, what they may not understand is even though the deposit, it's just a number and it comes off the sale price at the end, it shows strength in your offer when you're trying to win it over somebody else. So if you're in a position and you can put down a 10% deposit or a $50,000 deposit, like that might be the difference between you winning the property over somebody else.
Sure, of course.
Like you guys might be borrowing the same amount of money from the bank. You might be looking at the same sale price.
Yeah.
And it could potentially come down to something as simple as one person's got a $10,000 deposit, one person's got a $30,000 deposit. Well, I'll go with the $30,000.
Shows they're more committed, right?
Exactly.
To a vendor.
Yeah.
But they can access, between, $30,000 to $500,000 really, really easily.
Yep.
They pop in their application to our Melbourne-based team, and within 24 hours they're approved, and then within 24 hours after that we fund them whatever they're approved for.
Yeah, sure. So in a hot market, it's something that can kind of be the game changer between you and another couple, or kind of
to win the property.
To win the property or get your dream home and not miss out based on a small technicality of had to wait 14 days to find out this, or had to there's a
so it all
window.
Boils down to people that already own a home that are selling that home because you're protecting your borrow, I guess, against the home that they've just sold and what equity they've got left in that home.
Absolutely. And, they can apply, get approved, by the Wednesday, for example, and have the money in their account to bid on the
because you're
weekend.
from Melbourne and auctions are obviously the way to go. You do have to have a deposit ready to go on Saturday.
Absolutely. But nevertheless, it's an awesome product that's really, really taken off.
I think what I really like is that you guys have got lots of different products, and we've only touched on 2 today. But I think the main thing is that it's really facilitated between the agency and the agent and the client, and you guys just step in where you need to help out. We're really excited to be able to start talking to our clients about this product, but the sole goal is just to really make it a lot easier for everyone involved. And that's basically what you guys are trying to do in a nutshell, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's really, really easy for your agency, to request vendors to make payment through sending an email and text.
Exactly. And that's the best bit.
And then managing all your payments as well.
Yep.
You can send the request, manage and track.
Definitely. Well, we're really excited to start using the product. We're going to get this obviously up and running over the next couple of weeks. And if you are thinking about selling or you don't know the best way to, I guess, attack.
Well, just even if you're like sitting on the fence and being like, I do really want to just fix up these last few things before I look into talking to an agent, or I just really need to get this done, but I can't afford it. I'll wait longer.
Yep.
Here's an opportunity to jump on a product that can help out with all those things and, maximise the sale price on your property at a really low risk.
Definitely.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Josh. It was a pleasure going through the training, and it was also a pleasure having you in the studio. Hopefully we didn't scare you too much with any of our questions. You seem to have survived, so thank you so much for coming in.
Goodness. No, thanks so much for having me. Nice
Not
to
a
meet you
problem.
in person.
Not a problem, my friend. Thank you so much for coming in, and we will talk to you all next week on The Property Pod.
Thanks very much, guys.
See ya. You have been listening to The Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast
podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.